Nationalism is a powerful force. It unites people from different walks of life, transcending boundaries and differences. It inspires them to fight for a common goal, to stand together in the face of adversity, and to strive for a better future. In India, nationalism emerged as a powerful response to British colonial rule, which had imposed foreign control over the land. It became a movement for freedom and self-determination, led by iconic figures like Mahatma Gandhi, who championed non-violent resistance. Before British rule, India was a diverse land with a rich tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions. It had many kingdoms and cultures, each with its own unique identity and heritage, contributing to the vibrant mosaic of Indian society. The British brought India under one rule, creating a centralized administration that, paradoxically, laid the groundwork for a unified national identity. This helped to create a sense of unity among the diverse population, fostering a collective consciousness. Indians began to see themselves as one people, bound by a shared destiny and a common struggle against colonial oppression. They shared a common history and culture, which became the foundation of their national identity. They also shared a common desire for freedom, which united them in their quest for independence. The rise of Indian nationalism was a long and complex process, marked by numerous struggles, sacrifices, and milestones. It was shaped by many factors, including the resilience of the Indian people and the vision of their leaders. These included British policies, social reforms, and the emergence of new leaders who inspired the masses to dream of a free and independent India. The British East India Company arrived in India in the 17th century. They came for trade, seeking spices, textiles, and other valuable goods that India had to offer. Initially, their presence was purely commercial, and they established trading posts along the coast. But they gradually gained political power, often through cunning diplomacy and military force. They began to interfere in local politics, forming alliances and rivalries with Indian rulers. The company's rule was marked by exploitation. They imposed heavy taxes and extracted resources, leading to widespread poverty and suffering among the Indian populace. Indians faced discrimination and economic hardship. The traditional agrarian economy was disrupted, and many artisans and farmers were left destitute. Early resistance to British rule came from various sections of society. Merchants, peasants, and local chieftains all began to push back against the oppressive policies. Religious leaders like Tipu Sultan fought against the British. Tipu Sultan, the ruler of Mysore, became a symbol of resistance, engaging in several battles to protect his kingdom. Peasant revolts broke out in different parts of the country. These uprisings were often spontaneous and localized, driven by the immediate hardships faced by the people. These uprisings were a sign of growing unrest. The discontent was not limited to any one region or community, it was widespread and growing. The British often suppressed these rebellions brutally. They used their superior military technology and harsh punitive measures to maintain control. However, they could not crush the spirit of resistance. The desire for self-rule and justice continued to simmer beneath the surface. The desire for freedom was growing stronger. People from all walks of life began to dream of a future free from British domination. These early acts of defiance, though scattered, were significant. They laid the groundwork for a more organized and sustained struggle. They showed that Indians would not accept foreign rule lying down. The spirit of resistance was alive and well, inspiring future generations. They set the stage for a more organized struggle for freedom. The seeds of the Indian independence movement were sown in these early acts of resistance, leading to a long and arduous journey towards freedom. The year 1857 was a turning point in Indian history. A major uprising, known as the Sepoy Mutiny, or the First War of Independence, erupted against British rule. The immediate trigger was the introduction of controversial new rifle cartridges. These were rumored to be greased with animal fat, offensive to both Hindu and Muslim soldiers. The rebellion spread rapidly from Meerut to other parts of northern and central India. Soldiers, peasants, and local rulers united to challenge British authority. While the uprising was ultimately crushed, it had a profound impact. It shattered the myth of British invincibility. It also fostered a sense of unity and nationalism among Indians. Section 4. The Rise of Nationalism. Voices of a New India. The aftermath of 1857 saw the rise of a new kind of nationalism in India. The failed uprising, often referred to as the First War of Indian Independence, left a deep impact on the collective consciousness of the Indian people. It marked the beginning of a long and arduous journey towards self-rule. Educated Indians began to demand greater political representation and an end to discriminatory policies. These individuals, often educated in British institutions, were exposed to ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. They sought to apply these principles to their own country, challenging the colonial status quo. The Indian National Congress, or INC, was formed in 1885. This organization became the principal leader of the Indian independence movement, providing a structured platform for political discourse and action. It provided a platform for educated Indians to voice their demands for political reforms. The INC meetings were a melting pot of ideas where leaders from different regions and backgrounds came together to discuss the future of India. Early nationalist leaders like Dadabhai Naoroji and Gopal Krishna Gokhale advocated for greater Indian participation in the government. They were instrumental in articulating the economic and political grievances of the Indian people. They used reasoned arguments and petitions to press for reforms. Their approach was methodical and aimed at convincing the British authorities through logical reasoning and documented evidence. This period also witnessed a surge in intellectual and cultural awakening. Indian intellectuals began to explore and revive their rich cultural heritage, blending it with modern ideas. Writers, poets, and journalists played a crucial role in shaping nationalist consciousness. They used their pens as weapons, crafting narratives that inspired and mobilized the masses. They wrote in local languages, making nationalist ideas accessible to a wider audience. This democratization of knowledge helped in spreading the message of nationalism to even the remotest corners of the country. Section 5. Gandhi, leading the way to freedom. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, or Mahatma Gandhi, emerged as the preeminent leader of the Indian nationalist movement in the early 20th century. Gandhi's philosophy of non-violent resistance, satyagraha, captured the imagination of millions of Indians. He led mass movements against unjust British policies, including the Salt Satyagraha and the Quit India movement. Gandhi's leadership transformed the Indian nationalist movement into a mass struggle. He mobilized people from all walks of life, uniting them under the banner of freedom. His message of non-violence resonated not only in India but also around the world. Gandhi became an international icon of peace and resistance. Section 6. The final push towards independence. The Second World War weakened the British Empire. India's contribution to the war effort further strengthened the demand for independence. After the war, the British government realized that holding on to India was no longer tenable. The Labour government, led by Prime Minister Clement Attlee, granted India independence in 1947. However, the joy of independence was overshadowed by the tragic partition of the country into India and Pakistan. The partition led to widespread violence and displacement. Despite the challenges, India's independence marked the end of colonial rule. It inspired other colonized nations to fight for their own freedom. Section 7. Conclusion. The legacy of Indian nationalism. The birth of nationalism in India was a long and arduous journey. It was a testament to the resilience and determination of the Indian people. Indian nationalism was not just about achieving political freedom. It was also about social reform, economic justice, and cultural revival. The legacy of Indian nationalism continues to shape India today. It inspires Indians to strive for a more just and equitable society. The values of democracy, secularism, and social justice enshrined in the Indian Constitution are a reflection of the ideals that fueled the nationalist movement.